Right, we're rolling. Back again for yet another fragrance review. Um, Long story short, with this one, it's kind of like again, as I've gone over in the past, in terms of with there we go. In terms of with EDTs and EDPs, again, preference is to go with the EDP or the Parfum because they tend to be longer lasting, not necessarily more projecting, but they kind of the power and the strength and performance tends to be better on an EDP. Now, that's why I thought I'd just not interlude, prologue. I think interlude was correct. I'm not sure, but anyway, what I'm trying to get at is obviously by saying this, you have the assumption that an EDP always outperform an EDT. Now, in the instance of this EDT, and there was one I did more recently, I can't even, it wasn't that long ago, but the name's already escaping me because I've got so many over there. I've done so many reviews already. They kind of, after a while, I become a bit of a blur, but yet when I smell them, be it on myself or someone else, it's almost like a switch just gets flipped in your mind. It's even like some fragrances I've not smelt for many years, but if I was to smell it now, or even a drink and certain food and flavors, it's like a memory rekindler. And again, that's kind of why I always had a passion for fragrances, because there's just something that nostalgically it can take you back to, nice memories. I don't want to say more pleasant times, but again, it depends on what your life was like when you were younger. I do say, generally speaking, you know, it's not just fragrances. It's kind of like even films and even songs. They try and play on your nostalgia. But without further ado, we'll get on with the review. But I thought I'd interlude into this to basically say I'm surprised that now and then when I find an EDT that kind of takes me back to times when EDTs performed really well and was pretty solid. And nowadays, most of what's on the market I wouldn't really recommend, but now and then if you do find one that's pretty good, like this one, which is Issey Miyake NUIT de Issey. So I think it's night something French, the Issey de Issey. So it's like a bluey black bottle. If anything, without jumping the gun and going into what it's similar to, it's funnily enough, it reminds me somewhat, not just the design, but the Yves Saint Laurent Parfum, or Y Parfum, not just the design of the bottle in terms of the bluey black that might not be able to be picked up so well on the camera. You can kind of see it a bit there, but the smell profile. Again, I've had this for several years. This was bought for me for a birthday present probably about 5 years ago, so it's actually been a while. I've still got quite a lot of it left. Not that it's a bad fragrance, it's just that it was, from my understanding at the time, it's fairly expensive, or it was made out to be fairly expensive for my birthday. Obviously, we'll go over the prices in a minute, but in terms of the actual quality of this as an EDT, it's very impressive. So much so that, again, as I did the interlude in terms of EDT performance, now and then you can find an EDT that even outperforms an EDP. And this is like, I've never, it's not that I haven't heard of this brand. I've mentioned this in another video, but at the time I hadn't heard of them or this designer. And again, the weird thing is, just digging it out, I just thought, you know what, this has really surprised me after years of fairly average or below average EDTs. So without further ado, we're going to go over the notes and the pricing. So, Issey Miyake NUIT de Issey. I couldn't actually find, this is first time in a long time, fragrance that had much information on it. It's strange. I've managed to find a pricing though. So for the 75ml, which is what this is, you can get this now for £25–30, which I think is a big bargain, especially for the quality, which we'll go over. But as I said, I won't jump the gun and give it all away, but I'll go over the notes anyway for now. So the top notes are bergamot and grapefruit, heart notes leather and vetiver, base notes patchouli and tonka bean. So there's a few things there that you'll see common ground in a lot of fragrance profiles, but some of the notes I really like as well, and they're unironically, going through a lot of my fragrances, the ones that I've started to prefer, they they have some of these sort of base ingredients and like little subtle changes here and there. So it does show you that certain people do have their own, obviously their own preference with taste and smell. But it's just interesting to me because for the years that I've been collecting and using fragrances, I didn't know the notes, I didn't look online. I would usually buy in a shop or try them on, and then years later rebuy them online, and some of them have even been blind buys. But it's interesting when you do a bit of research and you realise what's in them, what the ingredients or chemicals, aroma chemicals are, because it's like a nice thing. It's like you're learning, and again, the reason I do these videos isn't just for my benefit or pleasure. It's to try and give people honest opinions on these fragrances, and to get them trying them and buying them if they choose to, and just putting a bit of information out there in the hope that it can help people. So I do the smell test now. So this is very nice. Again, I'm just gonna be honest and upfront. It's kind of like without hinting at it too much, but I'd give this like a solid 7, maybe even a 7.5 out of 10, especially now knowing that the price is so affordable. I think that it's not quite good enough for an 8, because there are some 8s and 9s that I've reviewed and used more recently that I rate above this, but it's a very pleasant smell. And for that value of £25–30 for a 75ml, obviously I was unable to get full information of like 100ml or if there's bigger sizes. But in terms of projection and longevity, the projection is very good for the first 2 hours as an EDT. Most of the time they are, but some are like half hour, an hour. This is good for like 2 hours. That's not bad. I don't feel you need to hammer it on like some others, as in, splash it all over you and around your neck and your clothes. But it's just, yeah. So we'll go through how I perceive it on my skin. And yeah, already very radiant, like most EDTs. But as I said, the performance of this for an EDT is pretty solid. I'd say, yeah, 1 to 2 hour on my skin radiance. And in terms of performance, hard to say, because most EDTs are advertised up to 2 to 4 hours. I would say maybe a little bit longer, like more 4 to 5 with me, which, so again, that's above average. And for the price and the quality of the smell, I'm not going in there right now because it's very radiant and strong and I'm already detecting it now. But yeah, I'll just put it out there that I'd recommend, if you can find this, be it in a shop or online, it's very, I don't just want to say different, but in comparison to everything else I've smelt more recently, it's just, there's something different about it that for me at least, I think it's like refreshing, in terms of not just it being freshy, but it just being refreshing, so that when you get to smell something different rather than just 50 different ones from the famous houses, shall we say, that everybody wears, that you've smelt everywhere. I don't tend to smell this, and I don't think I have smelt this. I probably have in passing, but to my recollection, in comparison to some of the more popular ones, I've not smelt this on anyone before. So yeah, without further ado, yeah, so fresh, clean, like a mixture of ozonic and green, meaning, or so kind of like the outdoors, you get the image of the trees. That could be the like elements of the leather, and the tonka bean gives a bit of sweetness. There's freshness there as well. Obviously from the grapefruit, it's a little bit fruity, but if I was to describe it, it's more ozonic and green. So kind of that image of like forestry, or like a nice walk, and you're fresh and you're clean, or fresh out the shower. I think people describe it as, or that kind of thing. But yeah, it's very pleasant. It's just, again, almost like if I was to describe it as well, it's like, sometimes I say relaxing. To me, it's kind of like, it's not intimidating. It's not like a beast power going to the club. If anything, I'd say it's more like office gym environment. It's pretty chill. I wouldn't necessarily say for dates. Not that it's not pleasant, but I just feel the image and the environment imagery it gives me. Yeah, so ozonic, fresh, clean, a little bit sweet. Yeah, just a pleasant fragrance. So I'd say a 7.5, purely in terms of the smell itself and the longevity, I'd give it a 7. But for the price and the fact it's a bit different, I'm actually going to re-review it. I was going to give it a 7. I'm going to change that now because this is quite nice. 7.5. I'm not going to say it's anything special, but it's just different and not meant. And it's not that. I don't want to say popular because I don't know how popular it is now. But I've personally not smelt it on a lot of people. And again, you know, you have to smell it on your own skin. It's not going to blow you away. That's why it's not in an 8 or 9 like some of the others, mostly EDPs. But for an EDT, especially for that price, I think it is pretty good. So if you could get it from 25 to 30 pound or even less, wholeheartedly recommended. So Issey Miyake, let's just show that again, because again, I know of this brand now, but I don't hear it mentioned that often, or this fragrance in particular. So there we go, Issey Miyake Night de Issey, however you say it. Bye.